Alright, this is a review of the Montane Sabretooth jacket. I have it in a large. I've had it for a little over a year now, and I've grown to like this jacket more and more. The upper pockets go from up here down to here, and the lower pockets go from the lower section all the way up to here. The jacket has a fillet zipper, and also has a button at the bottom, so if you want to let your harness go through there, that works really well. The pockets are compatible with straps. It's really easy to access all the pockets. It's easy to put gloves in the pockets when you're wearing a pack too, so that's not an issue, either one. I do like using the bottom pocket a little better because it's just a slightly bigger pocket, so it's easier to kind of get stuff in and rotate it up. But you can get gloves or even a pair of goggles in the upper pockets if you want. The lower pockets here do have a mesh backing, so you can leave them open for breathability if you want. The cuffs have a Velcro adjustment. I basically set these one time, and I really haven't had to change them. I just kind of pull them off. The only time I have an issue with this is if I have a couple of layers underneath and you kind of reach in and you grab the extra layers. It can be a bit of a pain, or if they're sticking out through the cuff, sometimes you don't have that stretchability to pull it over. So you can just have to shove the layers back in there. The hood on the Montanes are great. It's got a volume adjuster on the back and a wire stiffened brim in the front, so you can shape it and the wind doesn't really bother this too much. You can tighten it up in the back if you need to, and basically I kind of set this stuff once and forget about it. I also have adjusters right here on the side. Now if you're wearing a helmet or something like that, you can change it out and adjust it for the helmet, but they really dial these things really well. Comes up nice and high on the face, up to the nose, and you got a nice fleece guard right here on the inside too, so it feels really comfortable against the face. So if you kind of get caught out in some unexpected weather and you don't have a face mask or something like that, you can always just tuck this up and help stay as warm as possible and stay out of the wind. The jacket's got a micro fleece backing, and that adds just a touch of warmth and really helps with pulling that moisture off your skin. And the more and more, the jacket's still super breathable. So the jackets I have to compare the Montane to are the Outdoor Research Ferrosi and the Rad Boreas. So this is more like a soft shell shirt, and this is kind of it's a soft shell jacket. The Boreas has a real soft fabric, and it's really stretchy. This has a kind of a ripstop fabric, and it's coated, I think, or it does have a little bit more weather resistance. So it's got some hood adjustments. This is super light. This is like 9 ounces. And this one's somewhere around 13. And this guy is around 20, like 23, 24 ounces kind of thing. Or maybe, no, excuse me, it's 22. I'll double check that and put it in there. But what I really like about the Sabretooth is the versatility you get with it. So if you are middle of the summer and if you're wanting to carry just one jacket for a lot of different things, so say you're planning a big trip, you don't want to carry 3 soft shells with you because it's kind of redundant, and none of these jackets really add a lot of insulation. They just help with blocking the wind and breathing. This jacket does add a touch of insulation just because it's got the micro fleece, and that's where I think this jacket has the most versatility. So summertime, 70 degrees at night around a campfire, you're chilly, you put this on, it's going to feel comfortable against the skin, and it's going to help keep you a little warmer. Whereas if you're using either Boreas or the Ferrosi, you're probably going to want a layer underneath. Maybe not so much with the Boreas because this is really soft and it feels good against the skin, but with the Ferrosi, it's a little bit denser material, so it kind of transfers heat energy a little more. And the zipper on this, I did notice the zipper on the Ferrosi does tend to let a little bit of more air in, or it just feels colder there. So I was actually testing these, the 3 of these in kind of my system, and the temperature was around 14 degrees. I was wearing a Polartec Power Dry Polar Weight base layer, and what the difference would be that with the Montane, you don't really your core body stays pretty warm. You don't really feel any wind penetrating, and so when the wind does blow against you, it was like 14-mile-an-hour winds. You know, you're cool, but you're not cold. You feel it more on the arms and the kind of the shoulders, where you have more direct contact with that fabric. Now, if you change that out to the Borealis or the Ferrosi, the Ferrosi, I could feel cold air blowing through the zipper, and both of these jackets, or soft shells, I should say, are really cold in that situation. I mean, you're not shivering, but I think it's more based on my layering system than it is on the jackets themselves. So the Ferrosi feels like it's got a dense material, so you kind of feel cold everywhere. Like you feel your chest getting cold, your back getting cold, and honestly, it was about the same, maybe a little less actually with the Borealis, just because the zipper on this one tends to let a little bit more air in. But that's kind of an extreme scenario of just going over top of a base layer at low to mid levels of output, and it was flat, and I was just hiking at sort of a fast pace, and I would take breaks in between changing out jackets, and I was doing the same loop over and over so I could kind of create a baseline, and I would just cool off, switch out, and then go again. And you know, by the time I got to the end of them with this jacket, I was feeling pretty warm. With the other ones, I was still cold, so they were breathing enough and letting enough air through that it wasn't that comfortable. Now, if I'd have stepped that up to a higher output, I would have been probably opened up the vents on this. I don't know. I mean, I could have unzipped it. It would be easy to regulate the temperature in those colder temperatures with this jacket. The only issue you get into with this one is in the summertime. You know, if you're trying to use this in say 45-degree weather and you want to do high output, especially if it's low wind or something like that, and for some reason you want a jacket, I feel like I would overheat. For me, in those situations, if there's no wind and it's sunny, probably not going to need a jacket, period. And I can kind of relate that to climbing a 14er. When you get above tree line, I mean, odds are you start out in shorts and short sleeves, or you work your way down to shorts and short sleeves as you're climbing, especially if you're going at a high output kind of pace. So when you get up high enough above tree line that the wind starts picking up and you need some protection, the Sabretooth is really nice because it's comfortable against the bare skin, so you can throw it on over top of a t-shirt and you're going to get the wind protection, and you're going to have some comfort from that from the fleece backing, but you're not going to have too many layers on. I know, like if I tried to do a mid-weight layer like a fleece and then throw a rain jacket over top of it, I overheat, I sweat out in that, and then you get really uncomfortable. Whereas if you just throw a light fleece on, the wind blows right through it, and you're still, you know, you're hot when the wind's not blowing, and then when the wind blows, you're cold, kind of thing. So you got those extremes back and forth with that. With this jacket, it sort of is the best that you can hope to get between those. I mean, your other option is to slow down and put layers on. So yeah, it just depends on what you're trying to use the jacket for. What else do I do with this? So how I've layered this particular system, most of the time I prefer to use just one layer of insulation, no more than two for the most part. So what I use a lot of times is another fleece. I'm actually looking at switching out and getting a fleece with a harder shells or harder surface material, something that slides really easy, because this jacket does have the fleece backing. When you have a fleece that's fuzzy on all sides, it kind of tends to grab a little bit. It's not that bad, to be honest, but I kind of want a zippered fleece for around town anyway, so that would work a little better. Another option is something like a lightweight puffy. If you throw this under here, it's going to have to be pretty cold, just because that adds so much insulation. Maybe not so much in the arms, like the elbows and stuff, you still might feel the cold because that's where you're going to compress it the most. But the areas where you don't have any compression, that's a really warm option. And you can even do something like that without the base layer too. So adds a lot of warmth. Now, if you want to use this jacket for say a moderate hike in 20-degree to single-digit weather kind of thing, you're probably going to want 2 layers of insulation if you're going like a light to moderate hike, or especially like around town. So if you're gonna kind of use, if you want to use a jacket, it's just to get out of the car and walk into the grocery store. This particular jacket is not gonna give you that insulating value that you're gonna get from either a puffy or a synthetic or a down type puffy. Those will be a lot more comfortable to get out of the car and just walk in because they really hold that heat in. This, you're going to get that initial cool effect until you build up and you start to generate a lot of heat. And that's where these jackets excel, is they breathe so well. And I've been really impressed with this. I've left it on 40 degrees and still been fairly comfortable. And the best way I can say to regulate temperature on this jacket is, if you know what temperatures are going to be that day or pretty close to it, regulate it with your base layers. This jacket offers, in my opinion, the most versatility. If you're going to go on a trek, and like I said, you're not going to take 3 soft shells with you, and you want the most versatility. And this is great for skiing too. So if maybe the ultimate in warmth would be to put something like a Ghost Whisperer jacket underneath of this, and you're going to be super toasty for downhill kind of stuff. And it would fit fairly well under this jacket. I mean, you can always, if you need more space, you can loosen up the sleeves, and then you can have a lot more room to insulate around the wrists and stuff. You're not cutting it off. So, and the sleeves are nice and long on this, and they are articulated. I should show you. Hem lift. So. Any kind of thing. And that's kind of where I think the sizing on this, you see how much the jacket, how much fabric you have. So if you're going to be climbing, you're not wearing a pack, then it's got some bulk to it. Whereas if I get this in a medium, it'd be really easy to climb in it as well. So if you guys have any questions, hit me up and I'll do what I can to answer any specifics.